So when you have a clear target, you're going to get a lot closer. You won't get the bullseye every time, but you'll get a lot closer than if you were just throwing darts at the wall randomly.
Just because you work from home doesn't mean you have the freedom to go do whatever, whenever. You still have stuff that you want to get done. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, Next Level University Mastermind. Today, for week number 37, we are going to talk to you about designing next level focus for world-class results. So Alan and I are not good at many things, but one thing I think we are pretty good at is staying focused on what matters. And we are going to go through, like Alan said, 10, but maybe 12 if we get to the bonuses today, of the most important things from our perspective, from our experience when it comes to staying focused.
I think the pre-frame here that I want to say before we jump into these lessons, what you place your awareness on is controlling your life. So right now you can think of your left foot and whether or not it's warm or cold. Okay, the fact that you have your awareness on this video or this audio right now, I'm influencing your life more so than anything else in that moment. And so what you place your awareness on is so important, and that's also why we appreciate you guys joining us so much and listening, is because...
we saw the big snowman.
Big snowman
is because I don't take that lightly. I often think to myself, like, what has my attention is controlling my life and what I focus on and my future. And so we do not take this lightly, and that's the main theme for this, is focus creates feeling, creates action, creates improvement, creates your life. And you're going to see that through every one of these lessons.
Ooh, strong work. Strong pre-frame. Really set the table there.
Thanks, man.
Strong work. All right. Number one, put your phone away. Okay? If you really want to design next level focus and you really want to get world-class results, you have to put your phone away. There are a lot of people that, so as you guys know, if you've ever DM'd me, I try to get back to people as quickly as I can, but there are people where I will be batching my social media, I'll be going through, I'll be sending people messages, I'll be sending videos to new followers, and I will literally message somebody and they will get right back to me, like literally within seconds. Okay? You are not focused on your highest leverage places if you're doing that. Like there is no, and again, maybe, you know, you're on social media doing the same thing, you're batching your social media as well. But there are certain people where I see this as a habit. And every time I go on, they are very, very responsive. Okay, at the end of the day, with the great power of this comes the great responsibility. In the morning, and this is a little bit of a hack, but one of the reasons I love getting up and doing my journaling and doing the tracking and all that stuff in the morning is because my phone is silent. Nobody is texting me. I don't have to worry about it. I can literally flip my phone over. Taryn is in bed. I know she's safe, right? I know nobody's going to be texting me, and it helps me focus. I don't have to worry about the external. I don't have to worry about being reactive, okay? So imagine next time you say, you know what, I really want to sit down and I want to get some focused work done. You sit down, you take your phone, you flip it over, and you fight that urge to look. Just flip it over, like I'm going to do for the rest of the mastermind here, flip it over and put it on the desk behind you. And you have to reject that urge that's saying like, well, you should check that. Like, what if somebody texted you? If somebody texted you 15 years ago, you wouldn't know because there wasn't text messaging, right? So run that through your mind. Like, this thing is always trying to distract you. You have to have responsibility. You have great power in your hands. You have to have responsibility. My question to you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how reactive are you being? Every time you get a text, are you picking it up and answering it? Every time you get a DM, are you picking it up and answering it? Every time you get an email, are you picking it up and answering it? If you're doing that, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to stay on point and stay focused.
The only thing I would add to this is, so we're in New England right now, and it's snowing. It's been snowing a lot lately. And when your tires aren't getting traction, you're just spinning your wheels. I want you to think of traction as making progress towards your goals, your priorities, your focus. Think of distraction as spinning your wheels. Now, if you have other people talking to you or texting you or calling you all the time throughout the day, we've all had our day kind of go off the rails from distractions. The one key takeaway on this one, or tip, would be your mornings and your evenings. One of the reasons why I love working late on a Saturday night is because no one's distracting me. Everyone else is with their families or their loved ones, and I'm working alone in the studio. I love that because it's complete and utter solitude, and we're going to get into that. But I want you to think about it this way. If I didn't choose in advance to do this thing, it is a distraction, which is the opposite of traction. And I want you to picture that car just spinning its wheels, on the ice.
There's a question.
Awesome.
I love that.
Cool.
What would you say to people who use the excuse, I have to work using my phone and social media?
Mm-hmm. Fire question.
That is a great question. I think that you have to make sure that you set the intention of it depends on what you're doing. If you're posting, that should be your main focus, right? That's almost like using the excuse. I went to the grocery store and I know I was supposed to get vegetables, fruit, chicken, and rice, but I came home with ice cream. You're at the place. It's up to you to have the discipline to figure out where you're going to put your time. So I would say just practice it. Just practice it. If you're struggling with it, give yourself 1, 2, or 3 times a day and literally set it as a reminder on your phone where you're allowed to go on social media. If you want to batch your social media, you can do that one time. You can post one time. And if you want to scroll for 5 minutes, you can do that one time. I would say it's discipline and then creating a system under that discipline.
Fire.
Appreciate that.
So, Amy, if you don't mind me using you as an example, I just think she's a phenomenal example.
She is. I thought you were going to ask her.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Amy, I thought he was going to ask you to repeat the question.
Oh,
that's
no,
what
no,
I thought. That's why I wanted to.
Honestly, I thought it was too.
So, recently I was talking to Amy, and she's seen as quite a leader on this team, and she's leveled up so much. And I've been coaching Amy for many years now, and so I've seen her grow and evolve. And the solicitations on her time and attention have also evolved and grown. And she's starting to understand what it's like to be sought after constantly. And that's a wonderful blessing. It's a beautiful thing that people want to reach out. Right now I have 57 text messages that I have to get to. And it's not because, I'm so popular, any of that nonsense. It's because there's a couple charity initiatives we're doing. There's a lot going on. And there's a lot of people that I'm working with. And so the original question was, if I have to post on social media, I have to get back to people on comments. Like, how do I do this? What I told Amy was what Kevin alluded to, which is batching. It's, okay, I'm going to check my social media at least once a day, and I'm going to take 20 minutes to just batch my DMs, batch my texts, batch my Facebook messages, batch my LinkedIn messages. As many of you know, Amy handles a lot of my social media, and this is part of the reason. Because I'm the bottleneck to a lot of our team's growth. Because if I can't focus on the more important things, it's really holding all of us back. And so all of our lives, we are all the bottleneck of our own life. And so batching is really a tool that's changed my life. Same with email. I have 6 emails I can think of right now that I literally have to get back to, and that some people are probably frustrated with me that I haven't gotten back to them. It is what it is, and Kevin and I have found this to be true. Whether it's a Samantha Skelly or a Tori Leto or a Peter Taunton, whoever these people are, these guests, typically the more successful someone becomes, the harder it is to get a hold of them. And that's not always the case. I think Dave's kind of an exception to that because he wants to be accessible. So, yeah. But he also has the systems on the back end to be able to do that. And he's not going to say, let's say we texted Dave today. He'll get back to us, but it'll be thank you, ! Right? Because he just doesn't have that time.
There's another question.
Hammer it.
Well, what would you say to people who feel like they constantly need to be responding to clients and possible clients, otherwise you'll lose them?
Mm-hmm. That is something Alan and I have talked about recently, because part of so we have behind the scenes, we have Next Level Podcast Solutions where we help our clients start, scale, monetize, turn their podcast into business, all that happy jazz. But one of the, I think, high level benefits is you get minimum 24-hour response time. I'm way quicker than that. So this is what I would say. I would say when you set the expectation early on, it becomes expected later on, right? When you set the expectation, I'm going to get right back to you, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure in the future. What I would do is what we do. I would say, guaranteed texts back within 24 hours or whatever, however you want to say it. Guaranteed. What do you have it as?
I think we have it for 12 hours. I think we just bumped it up.
Technical support?
Yeah.
I would literally put it in your contract. That's what I would do. When you send a proposal over to a client, and this is the other thing too, you probably don't even have any time commitment in there. This is actually going to be a benefit that you can add. If you say guaranteed text response within 24 hours, That's actually a really, really good expectation because a lot of people don't put that in there. Right, so that's what I would say. I would say set the expectation right off the bat, and then it's a lot easier to keep up with that. And then anything that you do quicker than 24 hours is actually going to be you over-delivering.
Right.
So promise and then over-deliver.
Fire. I'll answer this question with a quick story. So Saturday morning, it's like 7 a.m. I get up and I get a message from one of my clients saying, hey, I really hope this is okay on a Saturday morning. I audio messaged her. She had a question about a couple things. I won't get into them. They're technical. But I basically audio messaged her saying, honestly, I'm grateful that you reached out, and it's my responsibility to batch my messages. It's my responsibility. Like, you can message me on a Sunday at midnight. My phone will never ring, never ding, never beep, which, by the way, this is another hack. If Kevin calls me, my mother calls me, Emilia calls me, or my sister calls me, it actually will ring. They're under emergency contacts. There's no one else on this planet that can get my phone to ring. So I have my system set up so I'm not constantly being notified of everything unless I batch in advance. And so, again, I audio messaged her. I said, it's part of the coaching to be able to reach out to me whenever you want. It's up to me. It's my responsibility to get back to you in a timely manner based on my schedule.
Can I add something really quick?
Oh, please.
It also depends, I think, on the context of the client. So if you're working with the client on something time sensitive, so one of our clients, John Laredo, he'll message me and say, hey, can we change the title of this teaser clip?
Yeah.
And I'll send it off to the team and say, hey, can we change this? That's time sensitive, right? So that might be something a little bit different, but you have to figure out your workflow with your client, and then you can always try to systematize that in some way, shape, or form, but that's another thing too. And then I would also add this, and this is going to be a little bit somewhat harsh, somewhat hardcore. Do you really want the kind of client who expects you to text them right back?
Right.
If you do, then that's going to alter your coaching a little bit. But I would say that's probably not scalable or best for the long term.
And one more thing, I'll go a little bit deeper.
We're going off here on these questions.
Right. Kevin and I, early in our coaching journey, definitely did a little bit more hand-holding, and I think we realize the downside of that now, not just for us, but also for our clients, right? If you need to be there 24/7 for your client, I would argue that that's overly pouring when you could like just kind of give them direction and let them flourish, let them fly. At the NLU team, obviously, we want to equip everybody with what's necessary to go and soar and champion their own efforts, and we're going to get into that. But we can't constantly be there all the time. And we just learned that over time. We weren't always good at this, honestly. We needed our own advice for a long time there.
You're good.
Oh, next one?
Yeah, number two.
Number two. Number two, clear specific goals. Okay, so the analogy that Kevin and I came up with in the studio earlier today was the darts analogy. So if you've ever played darts, if you aim small, you miss small. So when you're playing darts, if you're aiming at the bullseye, even if you're not good at darts, you're going to get closer than if you were just throwing darts at the wall. So when you have a clear target, you're going to get a lot closer. You won't get the bullseye every time, but you'll get a lot closer than if you were just throwing darts at the wall randomly. And so the lesson here is you will not hit a target that you do not have. I've talked about that dozens and dozens and dozens of times. And so just imagine what your life could be like if you had one primary focus. And most of this training is going to be about focus. For Kevin and I, it's listens. We want to have as big of an impact as possible. And we know that the most value we add is on the podcast. And so listens is our KPI. We're going to get into that in the future, where that's our main focus. So that's our bullseye. Now, we don't always hit it. We're not always crushing it. We have highs, lows, ebbs, and flows. Some days it's thousands. Other days it's hundreds. During the holidays, it's been a little lower. But just imagine what your life could be like if you spent 4.5 years narrowed on that one bullseye. All the other stuff has been a byproduct of that one bullseye. And again, that's going to be a theme here. So my takeaway for you, my question that I want you to ask yourself is this is what I want you to ask yourself. What are my top 3 goals? No more than 3. For 2021, where if I achieved them in 2021, this would make it the best year of my life. Clear, specific, measurable goals. And then let the other stuff fall underneath those priorities. Because if you have more than 3 priorities, you probably don't have any.
Fire.
Thank you, man.
Fire. So I am definitely guilty here of number 3. Turn off your damn music. So what does that mean? How many times have you been getting ready to work and you'll have whatever playlist it is up and you're sitting there going through trying to pick the right song? unless you have the best curated playlist of all time, you're going to want to skip a song eventually. Okay? If you want to skip a song, that means you're losing focus on what you're doing. And this is the other thing too. And I find myself doing this, and like I said, I'm guilty of this. I've tried to listen to music while I work or while I journal. The problem is, if I know the song, I focus on the words. Now, I don't know if that's just a me thing, because I like, I love lyrics and I love figuring out lyrics and all that, but it's very hard to focus on your music and focus on whatever you're doing, especially if you're writing something down, okay? So Alan introduced me to peaceful piano. I also listen to peaceful acoustic music. Now, these aren't like acoustic covers because, again, I know the covers. This is just random strumming away at the guitar, random hammering away at the keyboard, okay? So imagine if you traded out your Hootie and the Blowfish or your country music or whatever it is that you listen to and you put something on that was just background music. I think a lot of people are listening because they want to make their studying experience or their work experience more enjoyable. And at the end of the day, like, a lot of what we're going to tell you is going to be to, like, simplify this process for you, because it's not meant to be quote unquote enjoyable. Focus is, it's not necessarily enjoyable. Like, you have to be focused on one thing. So if you have a ton of things going on around you, it's going to be super hard to focus. So I see that a lot with people. Like, they try to make it like this fun experience when they're focusing, where I think you should put your head down and just, throw some peaceful piano on. You'll also feel like very, what's the word I'm looking for? Dapper. Yeah.
You feel dapper?
I feel like I'm like well-traveled.
When you're doing peaceful piano?
Yeah, I just smell leather. Bach. Yeah, I feel good. I feel good. So that's mine.
Okay, cool. No question to ask?
My question is, are you listening to Hootie and the Blowfish? If so, peaceful piano.
The only thing I'll add to that was funny.
Yeah, there's nothing to add, really. There's nothing to add to that.
The only thing I'll add to this, there's something. But I just want everyone to understand that there's a reason focus is so hard. It's boring. It sucks. I just don't like the idea of like, oh, you can make it fun. No, it's supposed to suck. Like, hard work sucks. That's why it's so hard. But you can make it somewhat enjoyable. So I have a meditation playlist that is basically these specific songs. There's one, Nuovo
Blanque.
Yeah, that one. Okay, that song puts me in flow. So remember, there are two types of people with music. Okay, there's the people who choose the music that makes them want to feel good. And then there's people who choose the music based on the task they want to get done. If I want to get a task done, I'm not going to put on like club music. I'm going to put on a song that, remember, your central nervous system associates a specific sound with a specific task. That's why it's so hard to work in your bedroom, because the environment is dictating what you do. Okay, so when you're in the office, it's easier to work because your central nervous system associates office equals work. It's the same with music.
Can I add?
Yeah, please.
Also, and so this is like a complete 360. If I am on my 4th or 5th or 6th client call of the day and I have 10 or 15 minutes in between, I will literally put on some upbeat, whatever it is to bring my mood up. So I guess at the end of the day, the lesson is use your music intentionally.
Right.
Is what I would say as the lesson for this one.
100%. That's a fire. I'm glad you said that.
Thanks, man.
That was the takeaway I was trying to get to. Number 4, create a give-up list. People do not like this one. I don't create a give-up list. Okay, I'll just use this example. So I've talked often about alcohol and how it took me such a long time to quit drinking. But back in college, and I took a trip down memory lane not long ago with Emilia because I took her to my fraternity house and we were reminiscing. We were in that area. And it was a trip to go back because I realized in hindsight how much time I wasted. Now, I don't want to say wasted because I did create a lot of incredible relationships and I had a lot of fun. And I think it would be naive of me not to say that. But I do think that, all I did was party hard and study hard. That was my college career. I met incredible people. I learned a ton, but I also partied. And I do think that I've met people from all over the world at that school, so it made me more. There were benefits. But in hindsight, I could have used my time far more effectively. And so create a give-up list. The moment I stopped drinking alcohol was kind of the moment where I automatically stopped going to parties. For a while, I went to parties and I was sober, but eventually I lost interest in it. And so the lesson here is giving up the wrong things will actually make room for the right one. Instead of going to a party on a Saturday night, or it's Thursday and I'm trying to plan Friday and Saturday, now I'm figuring out what I'm going to do for my workouts. I'm figuring out what I'm going to do for my work. Emilia and I were in the studio last night giving a relationship talks at 9 p.m. on a Sunday. Like, we live and breathe this mission every single day, always, because that's what we care about. And I just think that if you want to create room in your life for the right things, you're going to have to give up the wrong ones. So just imagine what your life could be like if you gave up something that's deterred you from your goals. So for me, it was alcohol. For you, maybe it's Netflix. For you, maybe it's listening to music while working. Imagine what your life could be like in 10 years if you gave up some of the things. A lot of people think success is saying yes to the right thing. Success is actually saying no to all the wrong things, because then it makes it really easy to focus when you say no to the other things. So what's one thing that you can give up that would really, your future self would be like, thank you so much for giving that up? Because yeah, I had a lot of fun in college, but I also wasted a lot of potential, genuinely. And it would be naive of me to think otherwise.
Fire.
Thank you, man.
There's a question.
Hammer it. Hammer the question.
Okay. What do you tell your friends or family who don't understand why you are changing your lifestyle?
Oh, boy. Great question. Great question to whoever asked this. Honestly, and this wasn't super difficult for me because I'm blessed and my family has been super supportive of me. But I think that you almost have to expect to be misunderstood in this weird way of, like, you can tell your family, your friends, your loved ones what you're doing, but until they see results, they're probably not, there's a good chance they won't understand or believe why you're doing what you're doing. So it's almost like you can tell them. I think it's better to show them. You can tell people whatever you want, but showing them is a completely different game. It's consistency, and you have to be even more disciplined than the average person just because you might not have the support that you need. I wish I had a better answer. Maybe Alan does. But for me, it's like you have to expect to be misunderstood for a little bit and double down on the fact that that's what makes you different, and that's what's going to make you great in the long run.
Yeah, I would agree with Kev. The hard truth that I had to learn on this one, someone can have the intention to support you, but not the capability. And this was really hard mirror for me because some of the people I love most, my family, stuff like that, they want to understand me. And I used an analogy with Kevin earlier, so this is a synchronistic question. I was reading a book that talked about, I want you to imagine an elephant with an ostrich on its head, and the trunk of the elephant is red, and the ostrich is swinging its head in sync with the trunk of the elephant. So everyone right now can imagine in their mind's eye what I just said, because you know what red is, you know what an elephant is, you know what an ostrich is, and you know what in sync means. Whereas, let's say I'm trying to create a multi-million-dollar business. If someone doesn't understand business, it's going to be extremely hard. They may want to understand me. They may want to understand why I do what I do. They honestly can't. Now, that doesn't mean I can't give them a breadcrumb and try to raise their awareness of, like, an elephant is this thing that, right? But I've kind of realized that I'm going to be misunderstood because I'm weird. And I'm okay with it. I'm learning how to be okay with it. And I also will say this as well. When I met Emilia, fortunately, I have Emilia, I have Kevin, I have the Next Level U team. So I have love from people who do get me. And so that's made it a lot easier to say screw the naysayers, so to speak. And not even to say they're naysayers, but because I have love for who I really am, for people who can understand me and have that capability, I think it's made it a lot easier, whereas in the past, at the beginning of my journey, that was very, very difficult for me. Courageous communication, try your best to explain who you are and why you do what you do, but at the end of the day, don't overly do that because they're not really going to believe it until they see it. And I don't want you to spend too much time like I did trying to explain yourself when that time could have been spent showing them the actual results.
It's a tough one.
It's
a tough one. Before I had the pleasure of reconnecting with Taryn and doing our thing and being so in love and so happy, I was dating somebody who had no idea. Like, she just kept saying, like, I don't get this podcast thing. I don't get how you're going to make money. Like, I don't get why you left your job. And it was like, it became very clear to me that this just isn't going to work. I know it's a lot harder with family, but like Alan said, if you can bring more people into your life who do understand you, it's almost a little bit easier to be misunderstood.
Right.
Because you're not spending all of your time being misunderstood. It's a tough one. It's a great question.
Great question, yeah. And everyone struggles with that, especially if they have big goals.
Where are we? We're at number 5.
I forgot.
You've forgotten. Yeah, number 5.
Number 5.
Oh, also, I just wanted to add to number 4, create a give-up list. When Alan and I really started getting into this and like understanding, okay, this is going to be like way harder than I thought it was, I stopped smoking weed. I was smoking weed almost every day. The story I tell is it's like a Tuesday, 11 a.m., and I'm like, perfect, done for the day. Like, I'm going to get high and just watch some Netflix. And I literally thought I was going to succeed at that level. That had to go on the give-up list, right? That had to go on the give-up list, and that was, I don't know, two and a half years ago. But that's something I had to give up. So
I'm not laughing at you, by the way.
No, I
love that story.
You're
That's
good.
funny.
I think it's a good story.
It's
not a lot of people talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, number 5, work in solitude. I cannot tell you how many times Alan and I are like, hey, man, I'm going to be in the studio today. I'll just be off in the corner getting my work done, or I'm saying the same thing, and we literally end up in front of this camera, or we're in these seats like, yo, man, you remember the time where you did this, or, we're talking about a conversation that we had with either Emilia or Taryn, or we're talking about a coaching call, or what we're going to do in the future. Like, it's really, really, really hard to focus when you're not alone. Now, if your quarantine is a great example of this, a lot of people have had to work with their significant others for the first time ever in their entire life. Makes it very difficult. Like, it's not easy, right? Especially if you're doing calls or if you're doing podcasts. Taryn was the first person I ever, T-Max calling us right now, the first person I ever did a live podcast in front of, other than Alan and then Dave and his team. So that was really hard for me. This is one of the other beautiful things of getting up early. If you get up before other people, you can work in solitude. Or go to a place in your house where you have solitude, okay? At the end of the day, from my perspective, focus, like true deep focus, is a one-player game. It's so much easier to do it when you're by yourself. You don't have to worry about hurting somebody else's feelings. You can set your intention on your task, and you don't have to take it off, right? It's so much easier when you're by yourself. So imagine if you could find an hour or 2 hours a day where you could find solitude. Maybe it's first thing in the morning. Maybe you're like Alan and you stay up a little bit later and you use that nighttime, okay? How many alone hours do you have a day right now? And how many do you feel like you could add to your life if you were a little more disciplined, or maybe a little more strategic? A couple hours. It will genuinely change your life.
This is a good segue to number 6, because I actually track my solitude time. So I have 90-minute jam sessions. I got this from Darren Hardy, and I track how many of those I do a day. My perfect day, my 100% day, would be 5 of those. I very rarely get 5 in because obviously so many calls, calendar, scheduling, and all that. But I couldn't agree more. The only thing I'll add to that is solitude is king for focus, queen if you're female. It's everything. It's so important. And it is. It's the more boring stuff. It's the less shiny stuff that's going to get you the results you want. I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. Okay, number 6. What's your KPI? So on the NLU team dashboard, we have a spreadsheet that has all kinds of different things on there. We've got the 25 Jeffings, which is all the stuff that we're not doing as well as we could. We've got team deliverables. We've got everyone has their own peak performance tracking. But on the very main dashboard, master dashboard is what it's called, we have a champion culture and we have KPIs. What is a KPI? A KPI is a key performance indicator. So if you've worked in corporate, you probably know that you're tracked on something. Maybe it's number of tasks, maybe it's number of sales, maybe it's number of clients, whatever. So every single NLU team member has one KPI, one main focus, because we're trying to create a champion culture. So again, I use Amy as an example of everything because of how much she's leveled up. Amy's KPI is Next Level Nation members. So right now we're at 317, and you know that if you're in Next Level Nation on our private Facebook group, if you're not, you should be, then you know that Amy posts in there, Amy engages in there, she adds value in there, she goes live with the team in there. Her main number that she's tracked on is Next Level Nation members, because the more Next Level Nation members we have, the more we can add value to people. It's beautiful. That's her main focus. That's her main circle of concern. So the lesson here is what you measure gets focused on, what you focus on improves. If you woke up every single day focused on how do I get more Next Level Nation members, of course you're going to behave very differently than how do we get more listens. That's Kevin's. Right? And so, again, imagine what your life would be like today if 5 years ago you said, you know what, I'm going to focus on that one KPI, and I'm going to measure it every single day. For 4.5 years, Kevin and I have been measuring the number of listens. And everything we do and don't do, think and don't think, say and don't think, say and don't say, believe and don't believe, is how do we get more listens? Why? Because listens equals impact.
312,472, I think. I think today, as of today.
That's the fact that he knows that number is the point I'm trying to make. He wakes up and lives and breathes that number. As a matter of fact, probably to our own detriment, we're attaching our emotion to that number, probably a little too much, right? So you got to be careful with this, but it does, if we want to have more impact, where do we have the most impact? Listens. Okay, how do we get more listens? Okay, better guests, all these things. You need to know what to track in your own life. Your goals are different than ours. Your core values are different than ours. Your beliefs are different than ours. Therefore, your behaviors need to be different than ours. But your behaviors are predicated on where you want to go. And so that's really the thing here. And so my only question is, what's your KPI? What's your one KPI that matters more than any other KPI? I track with Emilia number of fun, unique experiences. We're over 310. Why? Because I want to have the most magnificent relationship I possibly can, and I know that us getting together and having fun, unique experiences is part of that. Going to the gym with her counts. Why? Because she values the gym so much, and so do I. So what you track is going to dictate what improves, and what improves is going to dictate the results that you get.
I have a question for you
Hammer it.
guys. How do you figure out what your KPI is if you've never been on a team like we're on, or not in a big corporate?
I'm gonna let Alan answer that first.
Okay, great. That was your question, Amy?
Yeah, that was my question.
Strong work. Super
Thanks.
proud of you.
Thank you.
So great question. I want you to choose a KPI where the byproduct of winning at that thing is the lifestyle you want. So, listens. Kevin and I asked ourselves the simple question, what is the one thing that we do that has the most impact, positive influence in the world? The podcast. Okay, what's the one thing we can track that indicates impact? Listens. The lifestyle we want, the money, the impact, the community, it's all a byproduct of that one thing. And so obviously there's other things under it, but the one thing that needs to grow and never stop growing is listens. As long as listens go up, our impact goes up, and all of the lifestyle that we want is underneath that. And you've all heard me say this, but I want to reiterate it because I think it's something that we just weren't taught, and honestly, I don't know if a lot of people understand or have this awareness. Serena Williams, Meryl Streep, Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, Warren Buffett. Those 5 names, we all know their name. We don't know all their name for anything other than they were really, 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 really all in on one thing. Meryl Streep was acting. Oprah Winfrey, thousands of Oprah shows. Media mogul. Tony Robbins has been speaking since he was 17 years old. Michael Phelps, I don't know if I said Michael.
You didn't say
Swimming.
Michael.
Oh, okay. Warren Buffett, financial investment. He was reading financial books at 7. At 7. I don't even know if I can read at 7. Okay, so, and then Serena Williams, obviously tennis. The world will only know you for one thing. It's this interesting thing. If you've read Atomic Habits by James Clear, he's the habits guy now. Everyone knows him as that. Why? Because he did world-class work in one arena. You can be multifaceted. That's wonderful. But the one thing the marketplace will know you as, you're going to want to reverse engineer that. And you want to track the right thing for the lifestyle you want to create. It's almost like success is a byproduct of something bigger. And I hope that answers your question.
It's a deep answer. I would just say what Alan said pretty much. That's what I would say. It's for me, it's like, okay, if it's you want to get to your fitness goals, it's probably your weight. Your KPI would be tracking your weight probably. Right? So it's like simplify it to what is the one thing that's most important for you to get to your goals. That's what I would say. Strong work.
Fire.
Strong
Thank
work.
you, man.
All right. How many people have you met that have said, you know what, I know this is a struggle for a lot of people, but I'm a really, really good multitasker. Like, I'm really good at multitasking. At the end of the day, nobody is really good at multitasking. Like, it has been proven that humans are just not really meant to multitask. See that? See that? That's pretty good.
For those of you listening, Kevin was
rubbing my belly and tapping my head.
Yeah, at the same time.
There's a reason that's like not a party trick, because it's really not that. It doesn't take much talent, but
I'm impressed.
It's an example of multitasking, right? It's not easy to do. It's difficult. So much so where I was like, should I do that? Because there's a chance I might screw that up. You know, at the end of the day, if you're chasing two rabbits, you're probably going to catch neither. Okay? Imagine if in your future you literally sat down and you decided to do one thing at a time. Just one thing. And this is why this training is heavy on getting rid of distractions, eliminating distractions. Why? Because focus means one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Now, I don't know if the math adds up, but I'm going to try to do this. If you're doing two things, okay, and you do 50% of those two things, you're only getting 25% of your work done.
Interesting.
Where if you were to do one thing at 100%, you're getting 100%. Even if you do that at 50%, you're still going to get more work done. I don't know if that's true or not. And honestly, don't write it down or take it, but I'm going with it.
This is my favorite line item you've ever done.
Thank you.
And it started with you patting your head and rubbing
this
your
one's
belly.
This one's a little fringe.
Oh, man.
Well,
I just had the girliest laugh of all time.
It was good. It was good.
Squeak.
So are you a multitasker? Are you relying on getting the brunt of your work done when you're multitasking? Are you texting and doing something else? Are you on the phone and writing something else down? Are you smirking over there?
I just think you're hilarious.
Are you multitasking? At the end of the day, this is like everybody thinks they can do it. And I'm super guilty of this. I try to multitask all the time. But it's not easy, and you're definitely leaving a lot of focus and results on the table if you're doing it. So hashtag don't do it.
Have you ever been driving in the car and you have music on and you suddenly realize that your GPS is taking you the wrong place? And all of a sudden you're like, okay, everyone stop talking, and you like shut down the music and you like, it's because all of a sudden you're off autopilot. So I'm not going to go too deep into this, but your conscious awareness can only be placed on one thing at a time. Your subconscious actually can do things on its own. So you can foam roll and listen to a book, but your cognitive function can only do one of them. So if you're new to foam rolling, don't do that. But if you've been foam rolling for a year and a half, your subconscious kind of takes over that, and then you can listen to a book during it. So I listen to books in the car. The only reason I can do that is because I've been driving cars for so long, 15, 16 years. But at the beginning, when I was first trying to learn how to drive a stick, reading a book while doing that. So just understand you can only do one thing at a time with a lot of cognitive function. I think that's the distinction there.
So you saw Alan with the science, I'll bring the giggles.
That was actually really good. All right, number 8. Another one people won't like. Learn to say no. This one's so hard. Oh, so hard. I've spent so long on this one. As a matter of fact, the story that I have for this one is interesting. When I left my last relationship prior to meeting Emilia, there was a time when I was very lonely. Probably 6 or 7 months. And maybe a little more than that. And I remember I had some different opportunities to meet really beautiful women. I had a dating app on Facebook. Facebook had a dating app for like a short time.
I remember when you signed up for that.
Yeah. I ended up matching with someone who was, in my opinion, really gorgeous, physically attractive. And I told Kevin that I don't want to go for sexual attraction anymore. I want to go for, mind, heart, soul first, because I do think I've been guilty of like looking more at the physical than the other aspects. Again, self-awareness, full ownership. It is what it is. And so I was like, I feel pulled to that person, but only physically, and I don't want to go in that room. I'm in the gym with a close friend of mine, and we're working out, we're doing legs, and this woman who I had matched with and then purposely deleted the app so that I wouldn't pursue that, ended up coming into the room. And she was looking unbelievably good, and my friend said, marry her. And I remember explaining to my friend, no, I don't want to do that. I don't feel pulled spiritually. I'm going to say no, that's just physical. And so I had to say no to the wrong thing. Nothing against this woman. She might have been wonderful. But I had to say no to the wrong thing in order to go for the great thing. And so had I gone and pursued that just for the physical, I may never have met Emilia. I genuinely believe this to be true. I wouldn't have met her if I couldn't say no to the other options. And so learn how to say no. This is really, really, really difficult, but if you want a great life, you're going to have to say no to the things that bring a good life. You've often heard me say that the most popular wine in the world is Franzia. The most popular restaurant is McDonald's. The most popular show is, I think it was Game of Thrones. You're going to have to do things that are extraordinary. They're different than the ordinary. They're different than the average. You're going to have to almost you're going to have to say no to Franzia. You're going to have to say no to The Bachelor. Nothing against those things, but if you want an extraordinary life, you're going to have to say no to the ordinary stuff sometimes, at least some of the time. Again, sometimes I watch Netflix, sometimes I watch movies, sometimes I do ordinary things, sometimes I eat McDonald's, so I'm guilty. But it's not all the time. It's not regularly. And so learning how to say no is a master skill. Again, I've already said this in this training. We think saying yes to the right thing is success. I actually think it has more to do with saying no to all the other decent ideas and staying focused on the really good one that you go all in on.
Fire.
Thank you, man.
Fire. I always tell my early entrepreneur clients this. People assume since you're working from home, you can go do coffee, you can go do lunch, you can do dinner, you can do this, you can do walks in the park at noon. Sure, you can, but it is in your best interest to at least, if you want to do that, schedule that. But you're going to have a lot of solicitations on your attention, and you're going to have to say no to a lot of that. And this is another one of the expectations of like, look, just because you work from home doesn't mean you have the freedom to go do whatever, whenever. You still have stuff that you want to get done. You still have focus that you're putting on certain important tasks. I think it's so important to communicate that, especially early on as an entrepreneur, especially to your friends who might not understand that. Like, why can't you come to the beach? It's going to be 95. Well, I have a client that expects work done at a certain time. Like, that is my job. This is my livelihood. This is my career. So I think effectively communicating that in the right way is also very important.
I'll add something quick because we have some extra time here.
Do it.
If you are an entrepreneur and or aspire to be, expect to be very misunderstood by anyone who has set schedule. If you've worked a 9 to 5, you understand that when you get out of work, it's expected that you're out of work. And I know a lot of jobs blur the lines on that. But entrepreneurship, there is no, and we've talked about this before, it never goes out. If you are relaxing, it's because you've given yourself a permission slip to relax. It's always on your own terms, and it's very, very difficult. And again, shout out to Amy. She's taken on an incredible leadership role on this team, and she understands, like, there really is no shut off. We're never done. So she's always kind of on, and it's been really hard for her to balance all these things in her life, understandably, because Kevin and I are always on. And the rest of the team kind of is too. So it's just understand, if you do want to be an entrepreneur and or in an early stages of a startup, just understand that there really isn't a 9 to 5 type of mentality.
And even like people ask if they can do calls on Sundays. I say no. Like I get up and I do my work on Sundays. I'll get my system of success done, but I don't do any interviews. I don't do team calls. I don't do anything public on Sunday. Sunday's the family day, and that's always something I have to say no to.
Don't even text Jeff?
I very rarely text Jeff.
Right.
I try to be away from my phone completely. I try to do number 1, put your phone away. Number 9, nueve. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Simplify your environment. So 2 years ago, Alan and I, it's interesting that Terrence just called us because we wrote this on the board today.
Crazy, right?
Right? Haven't talked to him in a year. I almost called you T-Mac. Alan and I lived in Florida for the entire month of December with T-Mac. The whole purpose of us going down there was to be focused, to push out a couple online training courses.
The Launch House.
To mastermind with T-Mac, to work out, and to get better. Like, that was our only goal. We didn't go to the beach a single time. Right? I think out of the 30 days we were there, we probably did 25 workouts. Right? It wasn't open on Christmas. We worked on Christmas. We worked on Christmas Eve. We worked on New Year's Eve when we got home. right? The sole purpose of us going down there was to focus. And Alan just said it was the launch house. It had a whiteboard in every room. It had a TV in every room. It had a multi-camera shoot with backdrops and lighting and all of this stuff. This environment was simple. It was designed for focus and for success. There was no distractions. Alan and I didn't know anybody down there, right? Like, we weren't watching TV. It was just very simple. Everything down there was simple. We ate chicken or turkey and rice almost every day because we were both cutting for a photo shoot, which was brutal. So the lesson from this is eliminate as many distractions as you can eliminate. Like, there was nothing down there for us to be distracted by. Even T-Mac some nights was like, hey, guys, let's go to the movies. Like, that's not why I'm here, man. I'm here to work. Like, that's the only reason I'm down here.
Aquaman?
Yeah, Aquaman.
The worst
was
decision
it was the
of
worst
our life.
movie ever.
3 hours we'll never get back.
It was the worst movie ever. But that honestly, pairing that with number 8, Alan and I had to say no.
Yeah.
We had to say no to certain opportunities like, hey, I'd love to go out, but I have work to do. Okay? That environment was made for one thing, and it was simple. There was nothing to get lost in. It was beautiful, and we got more work done in that month than I had ever gotten done in my entire life. That's when Hyperconscious LLC was formed. We became a legitimate company. The website was built. We got Evan Carmichael on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We both did online training programs. We met Eddie.
Yep.
For the
Alex
first
Hinkle.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Right.
It was amazing. So many
Dennis and Kathy Lang, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so many. No, you're good. So many amazing things happened. So imagine if you adjusted your office or wherever your working environment is, where it was just simple. There's nothing for you to get lost in. It's just what you need there in front of you. There's no distractions, and you have the ability to focus. So ask yourself this question. Is my environment set up for success, or is it set up for comfort, or is it set up for fun? Like, what is your environment actually set up for? Because when you leave that environment, you can go seek comfort. You can go have fun. But if you're looking to focus, that should be the sole intention you have.
The only thing I'll add to number 9 is, so 2 weekends ago? Yeah. Not this past weekend, the weekend before. Emilia's family has a lake house with actually 2 houses. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And Emilia and I will sometimes go and get away there. And it was Sunday, and we usually spend a lot of time together Sunday, and I had some work to get done. And she's like, well, can we work on our laptops, like on the couch together? And she could see my hesitation for that, and she's like, no, you're right. So I literally went to the other house. That might sound hardcore, and honestly it is, right? I did the team huddle in the opposite house. Both have good Wi-Fi, thank goodness, because our business is digital, right? But I want to work on the couch with my baby. I love spending time with her. I adore it. When I go and get 4 hours of focused work, I feel a million times better. Then I can be fully present with her. Then we actually cooked together. We made cookies. We watched Lincoln Lawyer. We actually got to spend quality time instead of, I don't like the half in, half out, kind of working, kind of not stuff. It's not for me. It's for the birds. And I just think that if you could actually do this, solitude, simplify your environment, make it simple, you would be amazed how much work you get done. You would be absolutely blown away. As a matter of fact, those jam sessions I told you about, some of my clients have done them. Shout out to Bianca. She's done them. You get addicted to your jam sessions because you realize how much you can get done, and you don't want to go back. Kevin and I literally like, hey, are you going to be in the studio today? Because if not, like, I'm going to come to the studio. If he is, I'll go home into my home office. And it's just super important. So this environment, this studio, is world-class for productivity. We got a 52-inch right here that I hook my laptop up to. There's no distractions. It's just, it's nice in here. Our Wi-Fi is fire.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Really good. We got whiteboards everywhere, like 4 or 5 of them, something like that. So is your environment set up like that? I know that Kevin just asked you that question, but...
Yeah, don't take my question.
Sorry about that. All right, we got 8 minutes. Are there any questions, Amy?
No, not right now. I'm trying to think of another one, but no.
Okay, I want to encourage everyone just to be thinking of questions at the tail end here because we do have some extra time. All right, number 10. Although I've said that before.
Yeah, we're gonna run to it.
Probably.
Yeah.
Number 10, you need the best tools.
Wait, pause.
Okay.
Sure.
There's a question.
Nice.
Sorry.
The universe provides.
Cool.
How long did it take you guys to develop that habit of saying no, or or having no distractions?
That's a great question. I don't know, Alan, you might have a different perspective. For me, it's always kind of been a thing I was good at because I don't like doing things I don't want to do. Like, I'm just kind of a little bit stubborn. It's very hard to get me to do something that I don't want to do. Just because I just feel like it's a waste of my time, honestly. And, I've kind of always been that way because, again, I used to travel. So I was on the road for 5 days a week, minimum, right? Again, for out of the 12 months, I was on the road for 10. So when I came home, I did what I wanted. And somebody would say, like, hey, do you want to drive out here? No, I just drove 6 hours home yesterday. For me, I think I've always had that kind of, like, people understood that I probably wasn't just going to do what people wanted. So I think for me, I'm a little bit of a wild card.
Appreciate the humility on that, man, because it's definitely something you're good at.
I appreciate
something that you don't struggle with as much as I do. I struggle a lot with this because I care so deeply about people, but they don't always care so much about what I care about. So how did I develop saying no? I would say it's still something I'm working on. Like, genuinely, I talked about that moment with Emilia. That was really hard for me because I want to spend time with her. It's very hard for me to tell her that I would rather go work because it's not that. I would rather sit here with you, 100%. But that's not what's best, I don't believe. And so it's really, really hard for me. It's a muscle you have to train, and I still struggle with this regularly. My mom and sister asked Emilia and I to go see Christmas lights at this special place on Thursday night, and saying no to that hurt my heart a little bit. But I also got so many things done for this charity initiative and all kinds of stuff. So it's just kind of pros and cons, and you're going to have to try to stay in alignment with your highest self and trust that that's what's best for everybody.
Can I add quickly?
Please.
Wait, go ahead, Kev. You can add.
I'll hammer it real quick. So
Okay.
you also have to figure out, no, you're good. You also have to figure out whether or not saying yes is going to take you out of alignment. So really quick story. Recently, I had a potential client reach out to me, and she said, hey, I would love to come to the studio for a week and shadow you guys. And initially, I was like, yeah, I'll do that. But then I sent her my honest truth, and she's a sweetheart. I have nothing but love for this young lady. And I said, look, I feel like I was appeasing more than I wanted to, and I just don't think it's in alignment. Right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't know how that's going to work. Alan and I are the busiest we've ever been. We have a 9-person team. It's the holidays. Things are crazy right now. I said no. Now, I may have lost $1,000 a month for Next Level Podcast Solutions, but I stayed in alignment, okay? You have to ask yourself, will me saying yes take me out of alignment? And again, there's nothing against this person. It wasn't a good use of my time, my focus, and my energy just because there's so many other things going on. So that's what I would say. I would add to that as well.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Amy. Sorry. So much to say about this topic.
Sorry. Okay. How do you create an environment without distractions if you live with other people or animals in a smaller environment that doesn't allow for a lot of privacy?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm going to hammer it quick just because we're running out of time. Communicate your truth, number one, and say, hey, from this hour to this hour, just so you know, I'll be working. That's one thing. And then I would say earplugs.
Oh, yeah.
Earplugs.
Game changer.
Yeah, or if you have headphones and Spotify with Peaceful Piano on.
Right. Noise-canceling AirPods are life-changing.
Yes.
Life-changing. I was on a coaching call while Kevin was in the studio in the corner, and he had his noise-canceling headphones on.
Gary V.
Yeah, so amazing. Earplugs. I am religious about my earplugs. Like, I take them everywhere. They're in my bag right over there. I listen to music like Peaceful Piano while working with my earplugs on. It's like there's something about, it's called sensory deprivation, and I won't go too deep into it because we got to go. But sensory deprivation, think about it this way. You have 5 inputs: taste, touch, smell, see, sight, and hearing. When you take away 3 of them, you can focus way more cognitively. That's what a float tank is for. You're floating, you have earplugs in, you're in the dark, and you can't feel anything. That you can reach parts of your brain you couldn't normally. This is going to be a weird example, but Helen Keller was one of the most brilliant humans who created amazing work in the world. I am convinced that part of that was because she was blind and deaf. She could access parts of her brain, or was forced to, I should say, that we probably haven't accessed. I'm leveraging that all the time. I have earplugs on in the shower. I'm regularly, I sleep in them every single time. Again, I'm a weirdo, I know. But like, earplugs are going to change your life.
It's funny because when we're on the road, I always have to like yell, Alan! Alan! All right.
Also on airplanes,
Yes.
the best.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Bonus number 1, create a deadline. Okay? If you want to be focused, create a deadline to avoid procrastination. So for us, this mastermind, we're on week 37. We haven't missed. We're focused on this every single week because we have a deadline. The same with the podcast, 515 episodes we've never missed. There's always a deadline reminding us to focus. Okay? I think that there's something called good pressure. Being under good pressure helps you focus. It makes you focus on the things that are the most important. So imagine if you reverse engineered your time. I do this with my clients. One of my clients wanted to do a personal trainer test. I said, how many weeks do we have? How many chapters are there? Boom. Now you focus on one lesson per week until the test. You'll be gravy. My question for you, do you have deadlines for your work, or are you just saying, like, I'll get to this when I get to this?
Best example of this is the NLU team. We've set it up with a dashboard where everyone can see it. Have you ever seen someone walking around in a circle with a Fitbit because their family's watching? There's something about social obligation that will recruit more of you than anything else. If you said, I'm going to run a marathon in 3 months, and you told your friends and family, you better believe you're going to be running the next day. Trust me. Whereas if you didn't tell anyone, you're going to skip. You're going to skip. I told all of you I would never miss a day of working out. I was walking in the dark by myself at midnight last night because I will not break that promise to anyone. I don't want to be able to say I said I would do it and wouldn't. You have to leverage the social nature. Last thing. Brandon Burchard says this, best quote ever. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. For us, it's listens. We live, breathe by that because that's impact. And that's what makes everything go round. The team, our girlfriends, the business, the impact, our life, our future. Listens. Nothing should get in the way of that. What is yours? And if you can find that, hone that, design your life around that, you are going to have a world-class life for sure because it's really hard.
Amy, do your thing, girl.
All right.
Strong work.
So next week, we are trying to lock down Toria Leto as a guest for the Mastermind. She will be talking about relationships and overcoming shame. So I think Alan and I are kind of going to play around on this one. But so Alan and Emilia started a charity called Books for Babes where they have a GoFundMe page. Hold on, I have the link. But they are going to be delivering books to children and their families on Christmas Day. And so they're raising money to go and buy some books. And I will put the link in the chat.
Beautiful.
Alan, I don't know what you want to say about it.
Yeah, I'll go really quickly because I don't want to take other people's time. So why are we doing that? I would say that I grew up in a challenging environment that if it wasn't for the right mentors, the right books, the right educational opportunities, I got financial aid to go to WPI. I had half, when my stepdad left, I had free lunch at school. Like I've been very, very, the equal opportunity has saved my life in many ways. And I want to give to that. And I think that, we're all a lot more fortunate than I think we realize because we're so focused on people probably ahead of us. And I think that it's really, really, really important. It's not these kids' fault. It's not their responsibility. They're in a position where Emilia and I read that 759 million people are illiterate. That's 1/7 of the planet almost are illiterate. And if they're illiterate, they're not going to be able to provide opportunities for their children. And so that's part of why Kevin and I do everything we do. Emilia and I, same deal, like awareness, education, books, personal development. It's all part of the same theme. So please give. We are so fortunate to have already exceeded our goal. Our goal was to get to 500, and we were going to match up to 500. Emilia and I each put in 125. One of my mentors just donated 100 books. It's turning into something wonderful. So Amy put the link in. If you are interested, those will be books going directly to kids. 100%, and we will be filming the capturing the kindness to try to amplify and perpetuate it. And so if you do donate, you will be seeing something come through of your money directly correlates to helping someone in need.
Beautiful. Strong work.
Thank you, brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, happy holidays. Merry Christmas. If you celebrate it, we hope you have a blessed and safe holiday. Spend time with family. And honestly, you can use all these things after Christmas, after the holidays, to refocus. A lot of people are obviously spending time with family right now. So enjoy your time with your family. We love you. We don't have fans. We have family, and we appreciate you guys as always.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.